Hi guys, back with Witchy Willow today, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to create believable characters. It's something a lot of people talk to me about and ask me about. They say, how do I get my characters to become more three-dimensional? How do I make them feel more real? And that's what I'm hopefully going to talk to you a little bit about today and help with that. Without good characters, your story will be lifeless. And it will likely fail to draw your readers in. Your readers need to care about your characters and to want to know what happens to them next, like how their story will end, and they want to be drawn into their lives. They want to feel. Now, when I say that your readers want to feel, it's just that. They need to feel strong emotions for your characters. Be that love, hate, disrespect, disappointment. You know, you could just want to punch them. That happens sometimes too. But any emotion is good as long as there's emotion there. But as a writer, you need to care about them too. If you don't care about them, it will be obvious in your writing. You cannot expect your reader to care if you don't. You are the one that created them. You are their parent. You need to actually give a shit. Now, obviously, main characters need more detail than secondary ones. They need to be fleshed out and they need to have a history, even if you don't show it. What's important is not to use secondary characters as filler. They have to be there for a reason. Characters are not scenery. Okay. Once a character forms in your head, it's your job to keep them there. Start to use them, write with them, get to know them. These are people to you. These need to be as real as possible. So really give them some attention, give them some time, bond with them. You need to know them inside and out. You need to know their everyday life almost as well as you know your own or your best friends. But remember, just because you know it doesn't mean that your reader knows too. There is a thing as too much. Your reader does not need to know every tiny itty bitty little detail about them. You do. Your reader doesn't. It does not need to go in your book. The idea is to kind of drip feed little bits of information to your reader so they can build a picture of your character in their head themselves. You will always find a little bit of yourself in your character. It's perfectly normal. This is normal. It's just how you relate to them, and it's how we bond with them. No matter how different they seem to be from yourself, male, female, young, old, it doesn't matter. There will always be a tiny little bit of you in your characters. To be honest, most of mine hate mushrooms because they get that from me. Because I hate them so much. They're a foul little fungus, and I hate it so much that there's no way I can write a character enjoying a mushroom. It's not going to happen. Characters should never be perfect. It's boring and it's annoying. Who doesn't know that one person at school, work, or just in your friendship group that is just too perfect? Everybody loves them. They excel at everything they do. They always seem to have good luck. In short, you hate them. You hate them. They are the bane of your existence, and you want nothing more to do with them. You want nothing more than to smack them in the mouth. I know it is so tempting to have the perfect character, one that can do no wrong, especially when it's your hero. I get that, you know, perfect body, perfect face, perfect everything. But in reality, no one is like that. And again, if they are, they probably have all the personality and excitement of a piece of dry toast. You will hate them. You will hate writing them. You will hate being near them. You'll hate even thinking about them. And so will your reader, because that will come across in your writing. And you don't want that. No one wants that. I mean, is that what you want for your character? Think about it, because the answer might be yes. The answer might actually be yes. Boring, perfect characters, perfect characters can make excellent enemies for your hero, you know, but just make sure that you keep the annoyance where it's intended, not where it's not. People have flaws. They have quirks and they have little issues that make them into the people that they are. A good character will have them too. That's what makes them real. If they're negative flaws that are detrimental to your character's well-being or that of others, then your character should transform over the course of your story, learning lessons and becoming a better person. Although it's really, really, really important to remember to not push too much onto your characters. Don't make it that they've got everything wrong with them and their whole life is just one disaster after another and one sadness and heartache after another, because your readers will get something that we like to call compassion fatigue, and they will stop reading, they will stop caring, because it's too much. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a future video, which will be pacing for your story, but just tone it down tiny bits. It's important to remember that not all flaws are something that needs fixing. Okay, people are imperfect because that's what makes them them. Things like a disability or behavioural issues are not something that needs to be shamed or fixed. There is a difference between helping your character and alienating and insulting your readers with your intolerance. Simple as that. I hate to be blunt and sort of like in your face about it, but it's the facts. You do not want to have it that every single thing about your character that your readers can probably relate to themselves in some way, you make it seem like that's a bad thing and you fix it by the end. Because life doesn't work like that. You'll probably obviously already have a vision of your character in your head, and you will want to convey that image as clearly as possible to your reader. I get that. But there's a fine line between description and making your writing sound like a modelling catalogue. A lot of writers will try to use artificial props to describe a character's looks. For example, they might have them look in a mirror and they'll have this huge internal monologue of their entire face, their hair, their body, their wardrobe. Boring. Think of your characters as real people. Think of the characters as you. If it was not something that you would do in real life, then don't have them do it either. And really, how often do you stand in front of a mirror and study yourself that much? I hope you don't, because there's better things to do with your time, especially in the morning when you get out of bed and you probably look like shit. A way to avoid this is to have other characters notice their looks for you. Usually when they're meeting for the first time, or if they're coming into a party and you've had your characters go shopping recently in the day and buy some new clothes and some new outfits and some makeup, and the character walks in and she looks fabulous, she looks amazing, she's got this wonderful new dress on and her hair's all perfect and her eyeliner's on fleek, and your character's like, her friend's like, whoa, you look fantastic, your dress is great, your this is great, your that's great, that's cool, do it like that, it's all good, it all works. But you know, how would you describe your friend? If you'd gone shopping with your friend and they'd gone home to get ready for a party and you was meeting them at that party and they walked in, how would you in your head describe them? How would you think they look? How would you see this? Because mine your real life. Mine it. Pick at it. Take every tiny little bits and pieces of your real life that you can use and use them shamelessly. Throw them into your writing. Put them in your writing. Work on it, because we write what we know. We write things that we relate to and how we work, and that's a good way of getting writing experience. Just really try and describe your everyday life and put bits in there, you know. One thing to remember though, if you're going to use a character to describe another one, is think about their relationship. I once read a piece where it's a piece that I was editing for someone, and it was strange. there was a male character was noticing a female coming into the room, and they were saying hello. The way the character was described was the female was as a beautiful, curvaceous siren with flaming hair that tumbled down to his perfect waist that a man could span with his hands. And he talked about her seductive walk as she moved towards him. And then the writer revealed that it was his daughter. As I said, I was reviewing this piece and I had to return it with a note basically saying that it was creepy. Because it was. No father should or would ever describe his daughter in that way. No matter how sexy she might actually be, all they would see is their little girl. And that's something you really have to focus on and really think about, the relationship of the characters. How would you describe that person's relationship to you? Now, I've been asked to give you a few exercises that you can do to work on your characters and descriptions and things. So here's a couple that I think might be worth having a try. Pick 2 people that you know very well and put them into the situation and the scene that you're trying to write. It's always easier to visualise people that you know. So put them in, write the scene. And then all you've got to do is change the visuals, the names, and maybe a bit of the dialogue to better reflect your characters. It's a really good way of getting over writer's, I hate the word writer's block, hate it, but it's a really good way of moving forward if you cannot get the words out for a scene. If you're stuck, change it. Change your viewpoint on it and change how you're seeing it and write it. You can always edit afterwards, that's what first drafts are for. Another one is to pick someone that you know very well and write a description of them as if you were sending it to someone that they'd never met but they were going to and you wanted them to recognise them. It will teach you to notice details about people as well as your characters and to see what you notice about real people, but it'll also teach you what you didn't notice. Because most likely half the stuff that you're putting into your character descriptions in your books is not stuff that you would notice in real life or that you even really need to include. As I said earlier, it's very important to know everything about your character, and a good way to do this is with a character interview. Now, there's quite a few of these online. There are an abundance of them online, and they're a really, really interesting and very useful way to get to know your character. They make you answer questions about your character that you probably would never have thought of on your own. Naming your character is also very, very important. Names can convey a lot about your character if they're the right one for them, such as age, nationality, time period they were born in, even their class. Doing some research before naming a character is always a good idea. So look up popular names of the time period if you're writing a historical piece, or like me, if you're doing vampires and things like that. They're going to be maybe a good few 100 years old. So you need a name that's going to relate to that and work with that and correspond with that, not one that's going to sound really alien. Avoid names of characters that sound the same as each other. No one needs a Cindy, a Lindsay and a Mindy in one place. Okay? I'd even go so far as to avoid ones that start with the same letter. Many readers end up sort of skim reading a little bit, and this can be really confusing after a while if everything sounds similar. Of course, obviously with everything there are exceptions to the rule. Remember that these are guidelines only, and that I've put these together from my writing lessons that I've had and my experience. You might want characters that are hard to tell apart. Maybe you've got a group of like mean girls and you want them to be almost interchangeable. Then similar names work really, really well. But just make sure that everything you do in your writing is intentional and well thought out. You've thought through everything that you've done. All in all, the best thing you can do when creating your characters is to draw them from real life and your experiences, and think of people that you know, ones that you hate, ones that you like, and use them shamelessly. It's all my wisdom for today. So all I've got left to say is blessed be and happy writing.